So one of my all-time favorite exercises is to pick an inspirational book. So I've chosen Cultivated by Christin Geall, The Elements of Floral Style. This book is so beautiful. I'll have to do another quick video about this book, but it just has so many amazing, inspiring images, florals, colors. Christin Geall is just brilliant the way she wrote the book. But I'm not going to get into that because it could be a whole nother video, but it's called Cultivated. And it's just so inspiring. So this particular page just really jumped out at me today, and I think it's because it's so bright. It makes me think of spring and new growth, and right now I'm filming in the month of May, and in Calgary, Alberta, Canada, we're just ready to move on with winter. So I want to show you this reference book for my art and also some of my favorite supplies that I feel would be important to show you, sort of if you're fairly new to the mixed media world and some of the supplies out there. There's so many nowadays. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to prop the book up just so you can see some of what I'm looking at here. And I'm just going to start with using one of my art journals. And I'm going to start to grab supplies that resonate with me in this book. And the first thing I'm going to do is talk about these Neocolor wax crayons. And so these are, they're wax. When you add water to them, they do not move. So they're really neat to have under your work, over your work. And I use these all the time. So I'm just, oops, is this, oh yeah, this is a Neocolor one. I just had to check. And so what I'm going to do right now is just kind of play with the supplies while using this reference book for color and see if I can pull together some inspiration for you. So I see some red just in the background here, and I'm going to just do a really rough sort of outline, what I see, and very kind of quick marks. Because really I'm just getting down the color palette and playing with some supplies that I love. I love these ruffled edges, these flowers. And again, I'm not really thinking so much about what I'm doing. I'm just sort of playing around. And then, so the Neocolor Caran d'Ache crayons, wax number ones are not water soluble, so they do not move when you add water. Now I'm going to flip over to my my Neocolor twos, and I'm actually going to just go over top of this one with the Neocolor 2, and not everywhere but just in there. And then I'm going to maybe add just another one just kind of up here. And I'm going to add a little bit of yellow. I just love this light yellow. There's not a lot of the light yellow. It's more of a neon yellow in the flowers. So I'm going to kind of take my water-soluble pencil and sort of add in that element, that supply. And I'm just not really even thinking so much about what I'm doing. I'm just picking out different elements that I like. So these sort of oval-shaped flowers, I'm actually not sure what these are called, but just putting down this color is making me really happy. I see that there's a little bit of this really pretty orangey yellow in the center, so I'm going to put that down, and I'm going to use maybe my black pen just to kind of emulate this flower, and just making it in my own way. So it does not at all really look like this flower, but in my mind it's starting to look sort of like this flower. And I'm not being precious because this is just an art journal. This is just play, This is just so I can look back and sort of remember this page, remember the color palette, decide whether or not I like it, again, like it for my art, and just I'm getting comfortable with different supplies. And I'm going to use my water-soluble pencil to shade in there. I absolutely love these neon highlighter pencils by Faber-Castell. I'm just going to put them in here because I do see neons in here, this book. You can see it picked up a little bit of the green. And so what I'm doing is I'm just basically taking images, putting them down on paper, taking colors, supplies. You know, it could be as simple as, hey, I see that this water-soluble pencil really matches some of those stalks, and I'm just gonna, in my own way, add in some stalks, not overthink it. You know, maybe you just want to add in the color of, you know, the color of the supply that matches your reference photo. So pull out a magazine that you love and just make swatches of the colors you see. And you start to train your eye and the creative part of your mind to see differently when you sit down again to paint. So it all adds up to this amazing practice. So we're just playing. We're not judging what we're doing. We're just kind of letting go. See how loose I am with my pencil. I do always love adding gold in my work. So even though there's no gold in here, I might try another one of these flowers. So I might put one right here. It starts really jagged, small in the center, and it starts to work its way out. And then it's kind of neat the way the leaves are actually. You can't go wrong with this one. So I love that, and I might do just a smaller one over here. And you can see I'm really just getting down scribbles, but in my mind, I'm training my mind to know, hey, do I like this Uniball gel pen that I'm working with? And do these colors bring me joy when I'm playing with them? And I love to use watercolor as well, so I'm just gonna dip into, get my brush wet. I'm gonna pull out my watercolor paper. First, I just wanna show you, this is amazing. So you can see where the water-soluble materials are. The water-soluble pencil crayon, see how it's a bit more red there? This one here, I can take my wet wipe and go right over it. So I know that's the Neocolor one, the wax crayon, which has a wonderful purpose. And then here's the Neocolor 2, the water soluble. And the cool thing is you can go wet over top of wet. So I'm gonna grab another number 2 in my red because I just wanna bring out maybe a little bit more red in here. And it really is actually a beautiful fuchsia red, isn't it? And maybe even doing some of my own flowers over here. And again, taking my paintbrush and just playing around with the colors. And you know, I'm starting to really like this page, even though this is just abstract play. I like the variety in this page. I like that it's not all water-soluble material. I'm just gonna check how we are for time here. It's always hard filming when you're getting messages too. Such a learning curve. So I'm gonna show you again. So here, this is the Neocolor 1, the wax crayon. Does not move when you add watercolor. Down here, I used watercolor pencils. So I can actually blend them out. And I find the Neocolor Caran d'Ache The Neocolor Caran d'Ache 2s are so much more vibrant though than the pencil crayons. So I do have such a love for these. Like this color, I'm kind of going rogue now, but like this color is just amazing. So it's not so much in my reference photo, but I think we should all have a bonus color or a few bonus colors. And what I mean by that is adding in a color that maybe isn't in the reference photo, like the gold or like this color that you love. Another color that I would love to add in is this beautiful light blue. Just making some marks with it, seeing how I like it with the color palette. I actually don't think I would use that. So I would go back to what I was using before. I love this neon yellow. It's just beautiful. So again, this is a highlighter pencil from Faber-Castell. And I'm just craving to go over the petals in here with this light yellow Neocolor 2. Again, the Neocolor 2 crayon is water soluble. So we're gonna take our paintbrush and go back over. And you know, I know you probably don't have, oh, and I didn't let my permanent pen dry. So that's the only trouble with not letting things dry. That should be a permanent pen. So I'm hoping after 24 hours it wouldn't do that. But the effect that I was looking for was, again, that beautiful yellow watercolor. And anyway, you kind of get where I'm going with this. The other thing I do is I do this entirely, the same exercise in watercolor without the illustrative work over top. So I take my watercolor, my 140-pound paper, and I find colors that I think might match my reference. So looking up here, that's not quite the right color. Hi, Oakley. Got my little visit from my studio buddy. Hi, I'm just filming right now. How are you? So this is quite dark. So I would know if I'm wanting to match it, I would lighten it up. I think Oakley forgot I was in the house because I often work in the kitchen. And so when he loses me, he panics and I can hear him running all through the upstairs, my little rescue poodle. So that color is much more of a match. So what I do is I do these swatches. The next color that I'll want to swatch, this is a hard pink, this magenta, but I'm going to see if I can find it. I think that's it. And let's just see what other colors I want in here. I love that red. It almost has a slight orange to it. Could even mix in a little bit of the magenta. That's really pretty. And so when I go to do my painting in my own style, my reference will be these pages. What other colors do I love in here? This green. So this is a watercolor set I got in Kauai, Hawaii. They sell out really quick. This was a big splurge. And you can get beautiful paints at your local art store. I just absolutely loved this palette and was so lucky to get it online before they sold out. So I'm kind of playing around right now with color. I don't have a lot of neon yellow. Oh, maybe I do. I believe I have a neon in here that it's a little tainted with green. Oh, there it is. So I've got that neon yellow. And you can just see I'm just trying to find colors that are matching. And just this process I find really meditative. It brings me a lot of joy. It's very peaceful. And if you've bought some new supplies at the art store, you know, even if it's minimal, just trying to find sort of a reference photo, figuring out maybe how can you mix some of your colors to get the color that you love in the photo, Or maybe you don't have these highlighter pencils, but maybe you have an old school highlighter laying around. And if you don't sell your work, that's what you can use. And in your art journal, it will look great. And no one's going to care if it's archival or not. So I'm going to stop here and go on and try and do a painting in this palette. So I'm going to just show you again. Here's sort of just my play, my experimentation with colors and marks and what I love. The one thing I forgot to add was my gelatos. I just love adding these gelatos. So again, that green really matches in here nicely. I want to check out this green. So again, these are gelatos. They're like little chapsticks, but they're not, they're non-toxic, or they should be non-toxic, which is great. So I don't use gloves with them. You can blend them, but they don't blend quite as well. I like to use them just going straight on like that to get that texture. So I'm going to put these aside for reference so I kind of know what materials I love. I'm going to let them dry, and I'm going to go to my 140-pound mixed media journal. And what I like to do is, I'm just going to see here, I need a bigger camera lens for this. I'm going to just put this up here. I'm going to grab my, where's my paintbrush? I have several paintbrushes on the go. I'm going to use a round brush, and what I'm going to do is find, again, these colors and paint in the style that I love. So I'm probably going to have to mix up some colors, and I'm going to go with, just going to put these aside. It's just seeing if I have a palette. I don't, but I'm going to use my table here. I'm going to go with this dark color, and then I'm going to add in some green to see if I can get that. I know you can't see my palette here, which is, I know it's tricky. So I'm going to start with sort of a green base. And I want to be quite vibrant, and I'm going to do a little bit up at the top in here. I'm going to clean my brush, and I'm going to find my little bit of this green. Actually, this watercolor paper is not as good of a quality. I really like Arches, so this is a fairly cheap watercolor paper, but it will do with what we're doing today. And I love dripping my work. So I'm going to just do my drips. And then I'm going to bring in some yellow. I don't know if that's quite the right. That's more of a buttery yellow, but that's okay. I'm going to maybe do a little bit of yellow in the middle here. It's a little bit too buttery, but I can always add in that gorgeous neon. And I'm liking that. And I always add my colors in a few places. So I'm just going to peek through the lens here and just maybe a little bit. And then I'm going to go with the magentas. Some of the magenta color. I don't want to make orange, so I'm going to put that over here. And maybe add a little bit up here. There is a tiny bit of a light coral in there. And a pink. I'm just seeing here, what else can I put in here? So I've got my darks. one trick I like to do is I make my darks darker. So I like to drop in, I just added some blue to this green. I'm just going to drop in that color. I'm going to drop it in up here. You can see it's blending. And I'll just kind of blend it upwards. So I'm not really being too particular about how things are moving. I might use a little bit of this orange just for right here, the insides of the flowers, just a very abstract. And let's see here. I love to add in neutrals. So I love this gray. And I'm going to bring this color up in here. And when it mixes with the green, it seems to have a similar color as in Christin's book here. Not quite. I'm a little far off, but that's okay. This is just play. This could be like a practice painting just to see what I love and the supplies. Just gonna actually use my spray bottle because I'm not gonna change my water because I don't like video editing. I'm just gonna keep going, not to break it up. And I'm gonna add, I had a very beautiful bright pink. I might just add in over here. And here, you know, I guess we could always add it in another place too. I'm going to add in more of this beautiful green. Just going to drop it in again. If you have really good quality heavy watercolor paper, over 140 pounds or 300 grams, it would hold your paint much better. So I'm just going back in because it's starting to dry, which is sort of a characteristic of cheaper paper. This is a really bright painting. I would probably add in some neutrals at the end. And I think I'll probably leave it here. But you can see that's the process of how I get inspired by something I see in a book and how I decide on sort of what shapes and what I love about the supplies that I have on hand that might match. I do little swatches. After these dry, I would actually go over top with marks on there as well and use that as a future reference book. And with this, I'm going to let it dry and I'm going to go back to it and do some mark making. And I hope to do some videos soon where I show you my whole process all together.